ready when you are.
All right, I'm gonna make sure we got. All right, let me see here.
People already text me. What time is the pre-show? Oh, it says we're live.
I've got the. I got it going on, sir.
Oh, we need to get our Lake Conway. Let me grab that real quick. Will that come down pretty easy?
Yeah, that one. I don't know if it's.
Zip tied on. You got another one in here?
I don't know if it's not tied up.
Oh, we just talk about areas.
Yeah,
I mean, people know the lake at this point, I hope.
think so.
Ish.
Chris got some now. What's up? We got 14 people in here. Let's go. All right, man, you're live. I'm just gonna adjust camera.
Yeah, make sure your microphone's on.
Microphone's on. There we go.
All right.
They can hear you.
All right, you gonna come up here and join me?
I am, sure.
All right, folks. Well, welcome to the second event on the schedule. I think there's a lot of chatter, a lot of excitement about this one.
For sure.
So we're going to be at Lake Conway for the Ben Spangler Memorial. So we'll continue this event each year. The board's kind of talked about it, and we'd like to continue to have a springtime event on Lake Conway year after year and build this into a national event, essentially.
Absolutely.
So we're starting here locally, but years down the road, we want this to build into kind of like what Beaver's Bend event used to be, but have it here in our home state, on our home waters. I've even talked to some, national rated, anglers today about this event. I talked to Cody a little bit.
Yep.
He was with Adam Reiser. They were doing a little bank fishing. But they thought it was a cool idea as well. Maybe we can even get with some of the powers that be at KBF and Hobie and kind of get them to move off of maybe this one date. I know that may be a long shot, but we'd love for this to continue to grow. We've had some awesome sponsorship from First Security Banks, from Conway Corp, and from H24 Outdoors here.
First Security Bank.
Have chipped into the prize pool quite a bit as far as the money. So I know we put a little teaser out about what first place would be. It's going to be a nice chunk of money. We said, hey, first is going to be over $1,000.
At least $1,000, guaranteed.
And, what we didn't say was second, third, and fourth are also going to be boosted. If you end up in a money spot, which, we pay 10% of the field,
right.
And we pay Big Bass. We boosted Big Bass to $500. You're gonna, end up with a nice little payday from the event. We've also, been able to get some pretty cool trophies for this event made up, if you can see here. So this is the third place trophy. I'll get a picture of all of them together. The first place and Big Bass. I mean, they're actually pretty good size. So we'll get a picture of all those items out tomorrow. But that's kind of what you're fishing for tomorrow, as well as angler. Saturday. I'm already in tournament mode at this point. But Saturday, as well as Angler of the Year points going into our second event. Right now, I think we were at 43 anglers
43.
Last I looked. So our largest event with NSK Central has been 48.
That was Greer's last year.
Okay. All right. Greer's last year. So we normally get a pretty good push on Fridays. So I would see us actually getting, close to 50, if not more than that.
I hope so. I'm hoping that maybe some of our Northwest brethren might want, and River Valley brethren might want to make the trip now that we got, first place is going to get home $1,000.
Well, I know River Valley's got their own little thing going on.
That's
They're doing a 3-lake event, and we didn't realize this was going to become what it was what it is when all the schedules were going on.
True story.
I think we'll probably communicate with everybody a little bit better about it next year, and give everybody in the state a chance to kind of free that space and get over to us. So let's talk about the fishing a little bit.
Let's get into it because there's a lot of people talking, a lot of
And
chatter.
you hear a lot here at the shop.
I do.
And I know you've had people out. I have a lot of buddies that are fishing with us, so I've heard varying reports.
So I
Let's start with
heard,
you.
I heard earlier in the week it was good. A couple of people were in yesterday that I talked to said maybe it was not as good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I talked to a couple of people that said it was good. They just weren't saying it was good.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I know I've talked to a couple buddies. One went out, had really good luck in every spot that they went to. My brother was actually out yesterday with his two boys. They're out on spring break. They took his boat out. They didn't catch fish and got so frustrated they left. And I sent them to a secret little honey hole. That's a good little spot on a.
so Chris wants to know where you're going.
Hey, Chris always wants to know where I'm going, but I won't even know until the morning of. But I know Chris is an angler that fished the big boat event last week. Man, it really took a good haul to win that event. I think second place was like 17 pounds, but Chris and them had two really nice fish, and I think they finished fourth. They had a full limit, so the bite's been good. I'd really say, the water level though, whoo, it's getting up there. I drove around the lake before I came in, areas that had been clean, that had looked good. The water's come up quite a bit. So it's gonna play a factor for sure.
It is, but I mean, I feel like the fish in Conway are just used to this. I mean, this is pretty seasonal. We're not having anything really, what I would say is out of season other than the,
Right.
it froze over. But I just don't feel like that, dirty water. Conway's always dirty.
I'm not necessarily worried about the dirty water, but you go from, it's just kind of basic physics, or, you have this much space for a fish to be in, and now you're going, out here. Like, those fish have so much more room to get back in spots and move around. I think, we may see, for folks that pre-fished hard, might actually be at a disadvantage, in my opinion, because where they found the fish, those fish may have totally left that area and followed the rising water. They may be moving into moving water. As I've said before on previous shows, Conway has a lot of water that comes in and one exit.
That's true.
So there is current in that lake right now, and there will be current when we fish there on Saturday as well. 100%.
It's gonna make some good spots.
It will.
It'll make some bad spots.
It will. It definitely will. The good thing is we're in a time of the year where the fish are really active. So I think if you find fish, you're going to definitely find them. That was kind of my experience pre-fishing. The spots where I caught one fish, if I slowed down, I would find 4 or 5 more right there, and I'm talking about one pass. Without turning around and coming back, because I don't want to sore lip every fish in an area, but one little pass through an area, you could find several bites. Boom, boom, boom.
So what you're saying is you don't think there's going to be a lot of rogue fish out there. The fish are going to be clumped up.
It's hard to tell with the way that the water's rising.
Right.
So I do think that there will be some bigger fish caught roaming, for sure. I think we're in various stages of the spawn right now. There's definitely patches of bank where males are up shallow. My experience wasn't finding a lot of females up shallow. I know there's been a couple caught up shallow here and there, but I'm not necessarily saying that we're catching them deep either. Conway's average depth is probably like 4 to 5 foot or something like that. So, I'm talking about a foot or less. I wasn't seeing a whole lot up there, but that could change. We're getting a lot of sun tomorrow. The dirty water is going to warm up faster. So I know there was reports of some 70-degree water yesterday from Super Dave and from James Davis. I talked to both of them yesterday. So, those areas could definitely see fish pull up and be ready to do the thing.
Yeah, Mel says she's going to be here.
Right on.
I think she's going to be here at the shop doing something, but the Big Bass Award, speaking of Mel, the Big Bass Award from She Angler.
I saw this. Yeah.
We'll post a picture of it, guys, but it's beautiful.
Yeah.
She really outdid herself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know you told me earlier that you thought there were fish to be caught everywhere.
Yes.
So
it's finding them in the area, but I know several spots that I've been to this week. I was able to catch quite a bit of fish.
Yep.
I know when I talked to James yesterday, I'm sure he doesn't mind me sharing. He hopped to several ramps, just kind of looking at water clarity, looking at temperature. And I mean, he FaceTimed me with a good one yesterday. So he did find one nice one, said he caught several other fish. So, I do think that, there's going to be a lot of fish caught, especially with the overcast, cloudy conditions. I think it's going to, someone with a bit probably more knowledge on the lake like myself, where I think if it was a bright bluebird sky, I feel a little bit more confident about chances against the field or locals' chances against the field. I think that confidence goes down quite a bit because now I'm realizing it's going to be a pretty good day for everybody just because of the cloud cover. We're going to have an extended moving bite bait,
right.
in my
opinion. Potentially thunderstorms late afternoon, evening. Does that mean we've got prefrontal conditions? Or
yeah, definitely. So prefrontal spring conditions. You'll be able to catch fish on a moving bait, in my opinion. It'll get stupid in some places. Years ago, me and a buddy, Drew Pendergraph, were out about this time of year. We didn't know that it was a tornado warning either. Our phones were blowing up when we got back to the truck, but man, we absolutely whacked them on a day that was very similar to this, very similar conditions. And we probably never left the back of a certain area all day. So it was
interesting.
Yeah.
Dalton Dials is saying that this is going to be his first tournament ever. He's excited to be part of this. Well, we're excited to have you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, let's talk a little bit about access. So this lake sets up really great for kayak anglers, for new folks that don't know. If I remember right, there's over 13 accessible boat ramps. And there's a couple of spots that have public access roads and things like that you can dump off as well. So you can pull those up, just by going to Google Earth, kind of looking around the edge of the lake, zooming in, you'll see the little concrete ramps and things like that. The Arkansas Game and Fish have several ramps around there. I will tell you, no shade against anybody over at Gold's Creek, but if you're going to fish out of Gold's Creek, I would highly recommend you pay the $4 and you use that ramp over there. I would say the other ramp might be a bit sketchy over there. I would feel safer with your vehicle and those kinds of things. That guy, he watches those vehicles all day. He's a pretty cool dude overall. He'll take care of you. There's another pay box ramp that's available at Paradise Point as well. So that's a $2 launch there. So those are the two pay ramps that I wanted to put out there and let people know about, because sometimes when you go to a new lake, you may not know about the pay ramps. And it's always helpful to kind of get that information.
So here's a question. So we talk about access points. Over under on how many people are sitting at Alarm Creek Access. So if I pull up at the ramp 5:45 on Saturday morning, how many people are stuck in that ramp?
Well, I think you probably got at least 13 to 14 people there. I don't think it matters. There's just that much water at Alarm, and especially with all this rain. So there's essentially two creeks that come into the back of Alarm. I've driven over them, and they are rolling. So water is coming in. There's some good current that's going to be pulling through Alarm. You may not necessarily see it,
Chris
but it's there.
Half the group.
Well, you got to figure the last, gosh, Larry's the only person recently to win an event on Lake Conway that he didn't do it at Polarum Creek. The last, I want to say, four or so before that were all the winner came out of Polarum.
Chris, don't be saying that. Saying Polarum's been on fire just means everybody's going to be there. He must be going somewhere else.
He is 100%. Chris has his own little honey hole. I give him tip of the hat to it. I didn't know about this spot. I have fished it with him in a big boat. Out of respect, I'll definitely stay out of there.
Right.
But he's somebody that could definitely show up, if nothing else, in the big bass category, because there are some big fish in there. He's upgraded, I believe, to pedal drive at this point, so that could be helpful for his kayak fishing. He finished third, at Greer's, and so upgrading.
He meant game and fish burning stuff.
What's that?
He said no. Game and fish burning stuff there.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, last time we were here in Conway, the top four were all in Polarum?
I think top five.
Top five.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And of course, we know the gentleman that this is being named after.
Yes.
Was always in Polarum.
Yeah.
Ben,
he caught some big fish out of Polarum Creek. So some of the biggest fish I know that were caught out of Lake Conway, he caught them. And his sign is up there. If you find it, you're probably in a good spot. So I went in that area, was it Monday, I think, and checked on the sign. It was still there. If you get out and about, may snap a picture of it and post it up while you're out fishing.
So speaking of which, Ben's family is going to be at the LinkedIn.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. So Miss Cindy's,
and she might have some stuff to hand out to people.
Right on. Miss Cindy will join us. Brent and Tyler will be joining us as well, it sounds like. So it'll be awesome to have them.
Yeah, it will be. I know she's really looking forward to it. She really wants to, at least say thank you to everybody that's been a part of this. So speaking of the event in general, I know kind of got loose confirmation today that this will be that Conway Corp will probably be a long-term sponsor of this event.
Awesome.
Year over year. I'm sure First Security will be as well. So going forward, this is going to be an event that will always be around this time. And we'll start working on longer-term sponsors probably after the event, kind of let everybody see how it goes. But I'm really excited. I know you and I have talked forever about having a big event on Lake Conway. We've talked about it for 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah, the lake sets up so perfect for a big kayak event. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of water. There's a ton of structure. There's a lot of ramps. It's located right off an interstate. Mm-hmm. So people can travel from out of state, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Missouri, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, within, some spots 4 to 5 hours, no problem, get over here, fish. I think it's a lake that over the next few years will continue to get better. The last few years, we've just seen more and more 17 to 19-inch fish on average. Ben was able to show us a lot of 20-plus inch fish.
He was.
Over the years, I've caught some that were 20 or so, but I never caught as many 22-plus inch fish that he caught. Most of those fish that I would put up for month-longs were coming out of Beaver Fork or Atkins, whereas he was competing with me and beating me out of Lake Conway. So those fish are in there. With the game and fish continuing to stock Florida bass in that lake, I think it's a perfect Florida bass setup. Being a shallow body of water, we're getting more and more grass in that lake. Grass mats, plenty of vegetation, plenty of food and forage in there for the fish with frogs and, bluegill, crappie, crawfish galore. So I think it'll continue to get better. So hopefully, as the
I do as
vent
well.
grows, the fishing gets better as well.
And I think you're seeing more people in kayaks on Lake Conway.
Oh yeah.
I know I've heard that from multiple even boaters that have been here.
Well, and that's the cool thing is you don't have to worry about like when you're on Washita, you come around a corner, there could be a boat come flying by you, or Hamilton or DeGray or one of those lakes that gets boated
Or
quite a
Greer's
bit.
this time of year.
Yeah, or Greer's as it warms up. That's why we try to do Greer's in
Yeah,
the fall, in
for
the
sure.
winter, by the way, because we know it gets heavy traffic as the warm months come about. So you don't have to worry about getting run over by a boat on Conway.
True.
So
That'll be a self-correcting problem if somebody does that.
yeah.
So water's coming up, so that means structure may be a little bit covered up.
Yeah, which could save some people some props on some pedal drives.
True story.
So I know that the last little bit I've been out, I hadn't really hit anything,
Okay.
which is nice. So there'll be a lot of structure that you wouldn't normally fish as well that you're going to start having access to.
Mhm.
So you're going to see some things on some shallow flats really come
And
into
Conway
play.
has a lot of shallow flats.
Yes, it does. Well, let's talk a little bit about kind of the conditions,
Okay.
weather pattern, and kind of what might go with that for folks. Now, this is just me talking. I by no means am the content knowledge expert on what to do on Saturday. This little portion that we do is really just for beginners or for folks that are just looking for a bone. Like, hey, I'm just coming out to have fun. If I were just coming out there trying to catch a fish or maybe get 5, what would you recommend? We tried to do this week, so
Yep.
a lot of the things I share here, I've shared on my personal page. So I really don't feel like I'm giving someone's secret away that they found pre-fishing this week.
Yeah.
These are kind of common knowledge things. So
Absolutely.
we kind of get into the basket of goodies here.
Oh, some good goodies.
We're looking at, essentially, right moving into the beginning of the spawn. We're also looking at Lake Conway specifically. There's, some colors that do well out there on your plastics that we'll share as well. So one thing that I said after Greer's, I felt like looking at things ahead of time, Conway was going to be an event that time of year. You're going to be able to pick up a chatterbait. That's my swim jig. A chatterbait and pretty much throw this thing all day. Throughout the course of the day, I think you could pick up five decent fish, 5 good fish. As far as what to put on the back of this, swim baits work well. Razor shad works very well. So something in a little black and blue tends to do well on Conway.
In any condition.
It's gonna be dirty water in a lot of areas. Black and blue tends to do well on Conway, similar to the way Dardanelle fishes.
Absolutely.
With the black and blue pieces. So that's one thing that you could definitely go to if you want to throw moving baits. Another thing when you have dirty water, like we're getting right now, is just this dumping spinner bait here. So you go with the double Colorado blade there. Give a little flash, but also puts off a good vibration.
Mm-hmm.
Color wise, I don't know that that's as necessarily as important as just making sure you're getting that good vibration in the water there. White, chartreuse, or black and blue.
Which is why that jackhammer works so well.
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing about the spinnerbait is it's got a little bit of protection there with the blades and the grass and stuff. Chatterbaits can get a little sticky on grass, which if you give them a jerk, a lot of times it'll come off. But another moving bait option, I picked up one of my favorites here, which is a 2.5 square bill. So Mel Isaac paints a what she calls a moneymaker, and I believe Brandon Fink came up with this color. You and Brandon, I believe.
Yep.
But again, it's very similar to the square bills that if you watch any of the old Elite series on Dardanelle, when they're fishing that dirty water, it's very similar to that color. So that kind of chartreuse color with a little black top tends to do well. I'd actually picked this up and paired it, and then I was kind of disappointed I didn't buy it. So I may end up buying this before I leave, which if Jessica Morgan, if you're watching, I'm sorry. I already spent too much money in here today. But this is just a 1/4 ounce swim jig, so in the black and blue. And these Space Monkeys are really good. You can actually run these Texas rigs and just hook them weedless and throw them out there and reel them back like a chatterbait as well and catch fish. But they pair really well on the back of a swim jig. Those kickers put off a lot of vibration. Actually help the bait stay up a bit too as well. So that's a good option. And then the old staple for Lake Conway, Chris Hartman, don't get mad.
Old monster.
The old monster.
Old monster.
So particularly in the June bug color. June bug is an awesome color for Lake Conway any time of year. Doesn't matter if the water's dirty. Doesn't matter if it's clear. This will catch fish. If I had to take one bait with me to Lake Conway to catch a fish, this would be it any time of year. So one of my favorites for this particular time of year, though, is a lizard. I actually had you bring these into the shop, but it's a June bug lizard with a chartreuse tail. Tends to do well, up shallow this time of year. If you're just looking to get 5, male bass real quick, that's a good way to do it right there. But no big secrets, I don't think.
No big secrets.
These are all common things. Of course, you can never go wrong with a Senko as well. I think everybody's
just about to say,
that.
A wacky rig's not a bad thing to do. I know a lot of guys kind of shy away from like the Ned and the wacky, especially this time of year because we're power fishermen, right? Especially in this part of the world. But I can tell you, I know for a fact our good friend who's not with us anymore, he fished slow. Even in these conditions, he fished. He fished those slower baits.
When I was up at Broken Bow talking to Cody as we're kind of getting ready to go fish, I don't know. A lot of folks probably saw that monster he caught over in South Carolina. He caught that fish on Ned rig. So I think that thing was like 24 inches or something along those lines. But it was a giant. And he had caught another one about that same size, he said. So, Ned rigs do catch big fish. Matter of fact, last year at the second KBF, I was struggling. I finished my limit out with a Ned rig. I just picked one up and I went through on about 50 trees till I finally found a fish, but it was 18 incher. So, biggest fish I caught that day.
That was a hula stick, wasn't it?
No, that was just a plain June bug, little netting.
June bug works.
June
bug works. Like I said, Ben was always kind of, once again, obviously I knew what Ben bought, but he fished that slow baits. He was never afraid to throw it, even when most people are throwing, a little bit more power.
And that's, even when you're flipping, there's 2 different styles. And me and Ben were different.
True.
So I would fish slow as fast as I could.
Right.
Right? So what I mean is, like, I'm flipping in there. If I get a bite, I set the hook, I get the fish in, I take a picture, I go to the next tree. Ben has told me, he would go back to that same tree 3 times, throughout the course of the day. He may pick up one more fish off that same tree, but he'd also fish it a lot slower. I've been known to, have a 3/8 ounce weight on, and he may be throwing a 1/4 or even lighter. He may be throwing a 3/16 and having that slow fall. Whereas, when I flip, I want that reaction bite myself. That's just the way I like to do it. So I like to cover as many targets as possible. Whereas, he knew where those fish lived. He was going to make them bite, so he let it sink real slow.
Right. And for those of you who are new, this is your first kayak tournament, or this is your first time in the tournament series, or you're just kind of trying to find an approach. Tell people all the time, find those 5 fish. If you have to use a finesse technique, if you have to use a Ned, whatever that case is, get your 5, and then you can start going after you can start throwing hammers at that point. But getting that 5 is pretty important.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and Conway's a lake.
Easier said than done, though.
Conway's a lake that any bite can be a 17-inch fish.
It's a true story.
Because the lake is just so shallow. Even though I'm saying, hey, not a lot of the females have moved up to spawn, it doesn't mean that they're not up there shallow. They're just not
Exactly.
sitting on a bed where you can see them and
Right.
sight fish them. Doesn't mean they're still not living in 2 to 3 foot of water all around the lake. I mean,
Right.
because you can catch them year round in less than 4 foot of water for the most part.
I have heard of some fish being caught shallow.
Yeah.
I've definitely heard that. But like I said, don't discount those slower techniques on this lake, especially given changing conditions and everything. That might be a solid, strategy to start out with. Think we're gonna have any top water?
I think top water is going to play. If anybody wants to know if they're biting top water, just look on the leaderboard. If Larry's posted fish, they're eating a buzz bait.
Yeah, that's going to be a thing. So I do want to say one thing. So Tourney X, the time was wrong on Tourney X.
Okay.
We had a 5:45 start time.
That's why somebody asked.
That's a
Okay.
little bit low. So that's been changed. It's been updated on Tourney X. We're going to go at 6:30 now.
Okay. I had put
So-
6:40 on the event page,
All right.
but yeah.
We can make it work. It's going to be dark at that time anyway.
Well, that's why I was thinking 6:40 would be good
Yeah.
for first cast. I know when we fished at Lake Fork. Oh, Roy said it today in our little
Right.
group text. Like we're just sitting there in the dark,
Right.
like waiting on daylight.
Taking
And you're
a
gonna
nap.
have overcast,
Right.
so it's gonna take a little bit longer for daylight to come up or whatnot. But
For sure.
you can let us know at the captain's meeting tomorrow.
There you
Official first cast.
We'll do that. So guys, if you're new, just one of those things before we even get to captain's meeting tomorrow night. If you're new, make sure you have read the rules prior to the captain's meeting. That way you have those questions and we can get those questions answered. Make sure you have an approved measuring board. That's one of the things. There's only 3 of them that are approved this year. That is the 2 catch boards, or I'm sorry, I guess there's 3 catch
Three
boards now.
catch boards.
3 catch boards now and the hog trough. Those are the only approved measuring devices. Golden rules, tape measures, those things don't count. So make fully sure you have either a catch board or a hog trough.
And if you don't have one, you have some here at the shop.
I know a spot.
Okay, there you go.
I know a spot.
And if for some reason you're coming from out of town, put a message out there.
Yep.
I know I have at least one old hog trough in my shed somewhere, so
We've got
could
a-
probably
we've got a-
round some up.
We've got
for
a
some
bunch of the
anglers.
catch carbonate boards now. The X board's been very, very popular. So we're a little low on X boards, but
Yeah.
but we do have plenty of carbonates in stock.
Any other questions that are out there?
I don't know, guys. You guys have any questions for the show? Seen Garrett Morgan take me to school with them space monkeys last year on Dardanelle.
Who put that?
That's Jerry.
Yeah, we had a good time out there.
Maybe. Well, speaking of which, we got Darty coming up,
Yeah.
and a week before the Hobie.
Yeah, Darty's going to be full of water too. That's
Darty
going to
is
be
gonna be full of
interesting.
water.
There's going to be a lot of backwater to get into at Dardanelle. I went up there
And
some.
here lately, you're kind of Mr. Dardanelle, so that'll be a good preview show.
I don't know what happened exactly. It used to be, someone to be worried about on Conway, but I have not done anything on Conway since my first event ever. And Dardanelle and me just tend to get along a lot better in recent years. I think the problem,
It's a river fishing.
but I think the problem with Conway is, and you'll hear guys say this, especially on national events when it's their home water,
Mhm.
you just have so many spots where you've caught a
Right.
fish. It's kind of like, where do I start? Where do I go? So
Overthink it is what you're
you
saying.
can definitely overthink your home waters quite a bit, especially, I've been fishing Conway for 20 years. There's been a lot of spots I've caught a fish, so it's hard for me to run by that spot and not want to cast. When I should just be focused on one specific type of structure or something, you can get sidetracked out there.
Absolutely.
But Dardanelle is going to be a lot of fun. We should get a good turnout. Maybe some folks coming down to pre-fish for Hobie as well.
For sure. So predictions. Let's get into that.
I think at Conway on Saturday, we're probably going to have over 50 anglers, in my opinion. you get 50 people on that water, there's going to be somebody that finds, I think, at least 92 inches. At
92.
least. I really think it's going to take at least 92. You know, Brad Case has put up, I think, 92 or 94 in an event there. Ben put up over 90.
96.
In our classic, was it, I think?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there's been some 90-plus days. Is there potential to hit 100 inches? Absolutely. Do I think it'll be as easy with as much water as we have out there? I don't.
Okay.
I think that's going to be a little bit more difficult. I think you're looking at a low 90s number. For sure, if you're catching 16-inch fish, I think you're going to be in the conversation. You know, I think that's just kind of a good key indicator
All right,
as your day's going.
so Jerry says 91 with big bass at 23. I think that's a pretty safe pick.
Mm-hmm.
John Wooford says 94 for the win and 22-inch big bass. Winston Balance says 94 with big bass at 21. Keith Zimmerman says he's at least shooting for 98 himself.
Yeah.
So I said, good luck. I'm going with 90. Chris says he's going 93 with 22-inch for big bass. Sutton Bach says he thinks somebody could break the century mark today. I think somebody could break the century mark, but like I said, the conditions are going to have to be right, and you're going to have to find. If you find one big one, you're going to have to grind for the rest of them.
Yeah, it's shaping up to be one of those events where someone struggles all day and catches like a 23.5-inch fish. They win big bass and maybe have 2 fish or something. I mean, that's the type of what I'm seeing with the water coming up and everything like that. It's you could very well see the person that win big bass may not even place in the top 10.
David Thomas says 90 inches with 22.5 big bass. Yeah, I mean, we said when we put Conway on this time, at this particular time, we said we thought that this sets up real well. It's like Atkins moving Atkins from spring to fall could just get stupid.
Yeah.
Of course, Darty could get stupid. But I think this is one of those where I think it's going to be high 90s. I just think somebody's going to come in there. Somebody's going to find that. They're going to knock on that right tree.
Hey, they do it. Hey, more power to them.
But
it'll be nice to look at. I don't think I'll be doing it based on what I've done this week. But
so
I haven't seen 100-inch day or even close to it.
Okay.
Fishing, but that's not to say that someone can't go over there, like you said, and just find one little thing.
Chris said if you break the century mark, then you stayed focused and didn't get ADD, like Garrett said. Very easy to get distracted. So many good locations.
Yeah.
So if somebody like, and I know he's not fishing this event, but somebody like a Corey Hopper who just grinds a particular spot, that could be.
Yeah. Well, and old Larry, he won the KBF with, what do you have, 90? He had 90 plus.
Yeah, it was up there.
It was like 92.5 or something. So, that buzzbait bite could possibly be in play.
I was wondering about that. Actually, it's kind of funny you say that because might be somebody around the shop that was making buzzbaits earlier. So,
all right on. And I know we didn't talk about the frog bite, but you go out there right now. If you were to go up to the edge of the lake, you'd hear them everywhere.
Okay.
So I always say, anytime you can hear them at night, you can catch them in the morning on frogs. So
Jeff Malott says him and the app are going to cover in the AP are going to cover the whole lake.
Hey, I might be right there with you. I mean, I figure if you cover half the daggum lake, you got to run across 5 good ones at some point.
That's true. So north end or south end?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Not willing to give a prediction on that one.
I'll figure it out the day.
Close to the vest
I'll figure it out the day, the morning of. But I really don't think it matters where you're at. It's just hitting the right ones on the head.
I honestly believe that I think this is the first time that you can honestly say pretty much anywhere on Conway is going to be you're going to have a shot.
Yep.
So Mark Cawthorn says you better bring some extra props.
Interestingly enough, knock on wood, I haven't broke one pre-fishing at all.
Yeah.
That was a
Ford
first.
Farm says the middle end.
There you go. Right smack dab in the middle set of trees.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, they always say on Conway, they're on the trees. You just got to find the one they're on.
I'm just gonna tell you, that's bit me on the ass a couple times.
That's bitching, huh?
There's a lot of trees out there, all right?
Well, Chris just said it, but Conway can make you humble too.
Yeah, I know it.
She can be a wicked mistress.
Yeah, she definitely can.
So that being said, so we've kind of covered, predictions and everything. We've got a lot of new people out there. That's going to be interesting. We may break 50. I mean, it's
I think we'll break 50. We had 43 when we started this conversation. I bet it'll boost up by the time we get off. We normally get a good push on Fridays. So I think we'll hit 50, folks.
Now, I will warn you guys, for everybody who's on here, I was, Greer's was kind of the warm-up for everybody. I kind of let some stuff slide at Greer's. There will be no sliding on this tournament. So you need to make sure your hog troughs are clean. You need to make sure your pictures are clean. We're fishing for some real money this time.
Yeah.
So.
And my brother-in-law, Nick, this would be his first tournament. I didn't know he was fishing the same water as I was earlier in the week. He didn't tell me he came up, but he watched me a little bit, so he knows one of my spots where I was at. Anyways, we went over just some things. I talked to him on the phone today. If this is your first kayak event, one of the things is have some sort of cord or tether for your phone. Mm-hmm. I have dropped my phone in the water before, and luckily it was on a cord, so I got it back. But I always say also, when you get a fish in a boat, clean your space before you start your photos. I have had a fish in the boat on the board, and it starts flopping around. I had a pole laying across the kayak, and its tail hits the pole, knocks it over in the water, and next thing I know, I'm trying to get a pole back.
The fish that's being agitated.
Yeah, just take your time, put your poles where they need to go, get everything clean. You can have a fish clip to hang the fish over the side of the boat while you're getting everything ready. You cannot use that fish clip when you're taking your photo.
Correct.
So that the clip has to come out of the fish's mouth, put it on the board, then take your photo. Check your photo. Put that fish back on the clip if you have one. Mm-hmm. Check your photos before you let that fish go.
Amen.
Make sure you have an identifier in there, and that it's going to make his life easier. He can see the numbers. I bet you, even right now from Lake Fork and Broken Bow, I probably got over 200 pictures of fish.
Right.
I'll have 20 pictures of the same fish.
Right.
Hopefully the last one I take is the best, and I don't have to go through all of them. But just in case, that one's not good, I'll have more to go through. So take more than one picture. And one update on the app that will catch it if you hadn't used it in a while. They want you to put the species of the fish. I don't think it really matters to James. No. He knows they're bass, but just put bass. So that'll drop down. So if you can't figure out why it won't submit, that happened to me at Fork because that was the first time it did it.
Good to know.
And so I put the inches in, loaded the photo, and I went to submit, and that was the reason why I had to pick the species.
So some good information coming in. So, Chris, you're exactly right, man. There is a lot of money up for grabs, but remember to have fun and why we do this. Good attitudes. Jerry says take a picture of the sky between your fish. Yeah,
that helps you know which one was which. Yeah.
Always good information, man. Always good information. Well, all right. You think of anything else?
Man, if someone sees a gator out there, get a picture. I hadn't seen him pre-fishing one time. So
you ain't seen him pre-fishing?
Have not seen the gator pre-fishing. He's out there, I hear.
So
we hadn't seen him. I've only seen one, so I don't know about
Well, but one's that.
Yeah, whatever.
Especially one that big.
Yeah.
It may still be a little cold for him.
I don't know, man. There's 70-degree water in one little pocket.
That's true. Jeff Malott says good stuff, fellas. How much is the gator worth?
That's between you and the fines you got to pay, I guess.
Exactly. Jerry says the catfish are jumping. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, there you go. You can catch catfish out in the middle of that lake up near the surface, believe it or not.
Mark Crofton says he's going to take a hard pass on the gator. I don't blame you. But, as I always tell people when they talk about gators, just remember that in the state of Florida, they kayak fish a lot, and there's a gator in every pool of water in Florida. So not a lot of issues there.
Yeah. Well, anything else on your end you think of?
Not that I can think of. I think we're pretty good. I'm excited.
I'm definitely pumped up for it. I think whoever wins this is going to earn it for sure, and they'll probably end up having a really nice haul. And I look forward to getting a chance to look at the fish. I always enjoy seeing big fish that come out of Conway. Even if I wasn't the one that caught them, I like to keep up with the big boat guys. Even their little local tournament. It's kind of cool if you got some buddies that fish those. I always keep up with what Chris does and get to kind of see their photos. So there's definitely been some big fish caught in those tournaments here recently. So let's see if we can kind of show those boys up and get a double digit in. So they haven't caught a double digit this year. They've caught an 8 pound 6 ounce fish. But no one's brought in a double digit fish. I think there's some out there.
So Mark Kaufman says, if you catch a gator and get a picture of it on your board, you can have my money. And Chris is asking if he has to lip it.
Yeah.
Oh, David, hey, definitely a thank you for all the sponsors. First Security, Bank, Conway Corp. They really stepped up. I know they've all got ties to Ben. Yeah, and they're really excited to be part of this.
And I know Strike King and BMT sent some prizes as well.
Absolutely.
So shout out to them as well for sure. And I know BMT will be with us for the Dardanelle event.
Absolutely.
Sponsoring that one. So Ben had some ties to them, and they've taken care of us as well.
But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure he'd be really happy for how it's turned out. So I'm really looking forward to it. Our boy says he's at least going to try his AP on 9. So just have, like Chris said, let's have fun.
Yeah, have a good time.
Enjoy the event. There will be goodie bags for everybody at Taylor's Made.
Oh, and let's talk about Taylor Made.
Hey,
Taylor Made has a really nice tent. Space. Well, they have a really nice patio, and they've left some tents up, from what I understand. So if it rains, but of course, don't overindulge. But they do have adult beverages there. We want everybody to be safe, be able to drive home. From the event. Really good burgers there. Good fries. So that should be a fun little after party. I encourage folks to wear your yellow jersey up there if you got one made, and we'll have a little neon get together up there.
That's right. That's right. Like I said, the family's really excited about getting to see everybody, and it's going to be a good time. So I do encourage you, come by. Like I said, there will be goodie bags for everybody, courtesy of Strike King, and I know Brandon's going to be up here tomorrow working on that. So. Guys, I'm looking forward to it. I think I'm going to be busy.
I think you are going to be busy.
I think there's going to be some fish submitted.
Yeah.
One thing I will say, guys, don't wait to submit your fish. I know a lot of people like to wait to submit fish, but if you wait to submit a fish, and there's a problem with that picture, I can't tell you there's a problem with that picture. It's just there.
I know. So, I've just learned it's better to submit them, over these national tournaments, things like that.
For sure.
I've heard of, we were in Tennessee at Kentucky Lake, and I know there was a really well-known angler that had a limit that would have finished first or second, and they waited. And at one point on their float trip, they had service, but they didn't submit them. And they didn't make it to service in time and did not get any of those fish submitted. So you're better off, to submit them. It makes it easier on this guy. Plus, if your phone gets wet, if the battery dies, if AT&T has a satellite that gets blown out of space by some Martians or something, you're better off getting credit for something.
That is true.
Versus nothing. You know, so especially if you get a big girl, you know, get that thing submitted so you at least have a chance to win big bass, in case something were to happen to your phone or
So Chris
something like
wants
that.
to know if there's going to be karaoke.
Chris is a karaoke king. I mean, my kids have karaoke jukebox. I guess I could bring it up there.
Yeah, Scotch Lost broke his phone twice that I know of waiting.
Yeah.
Oh man, Dwayne Wally, he's on there. Hey, we got to give a shout out to Dwayne too
Oh,
because
absolutely.
Dwayne is um, he's doing this tournament pro bono because Ben. So
Yeah.
we really appreciate Tourney X on that.
Yeah, it definitely allows us to throw more money into the pot.
For sure. Oh, because that dang Garrett Morgan, Dwayne Wally. Oh yeah. So we'll see you guys at Taylor Made.
Yeah, we'll see you at
I'll be
Taylor
back with
Made's
you guys tomorrow night. But yeah, look forward to seeing everybody.
Yeah, and if you're new, you got questions, you know, feel free to reach out. You can message me on there. I'll, you know, help you out best I can. You know, if you're needing a hog trough, something like that, we can try to round one up for you as well. Hope everybody has a good time on the water.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. And we'll talk more tomorrow night. But yeah, for now, that's it.
All right.
We out.
Oh, I forgot.